We welcome in State Representative Jeff Bradley, who has his own issues this holiday season, beginning with where you're going to spend it. I mean, you got 2 grandkids now, your son's scattered around the country, daughter that just moved to New York. Where's Ann going to have you this holiday season? How are you guys going to be bouncing around?
No, we're just, thank you for asking. Yeah, we have 2 brand new grandchildren, and they live in Houston, thank you, and we're going to go there. And we're going to use that as a point of convention. So people are going to convene in Houston with us.
Everybody's coming to Texas. All right. When you come back from all of that, then you get to go back to work.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We have a lot going on in the state legislature beginning in January. We go in with, we think, a surplus. The numbers have varied. How much new money do you think we're going to have for the legislature to do something with, other than what they've kind of already paths they committed to?
Well, what we're looking at this point is about $1.5 billion worth of new money, and half of that's going to be recurring, and the other half is one-time money. So we think that we might see $750 million worth of new recurring money.
One-time money is stuff that has got to be dealt with carefully, because if it turns into recurring money, you got to find a way to fund it next year.
Right, we have to be really careful about that. We most of the time, one-time money is usually allocated for capital-type projects. Although
you have been a big backer of pension reform,
I have.
Would a one-time dump into that help that situation quite a bit?
Of course it would help it, but it still wouldn't fix it. We are in a major way backwards, upside down on our pension plan. We are somewhere in the $23 billion worth of unfunded liability there.
Down the road. And so it's been a big deal for you to get involved in fixing that. What's working? What is planned this session?
Well, right now we are waiting on the consultant that we have hired, like an actuary, who is going to come back with an experience study and report back to PEBA, which is the Public Employee Benefits Authority, what the situation is right now. And then we think that will help illuminate a path forward on how we reform the pension plan going forward.
Okay, now we'll get to the stuff that's more fun, the building stuff and fixing stuff. The legislature put a lot of money into roads last year and started that process. You've got this $750 million or whatever that can be used for capital projects. Where do you see it going? A lot of different places?
I do. I think that there will be a lot of people that are competing to get a piece of this money this year. But I also, you and I were briefly talking a minute ago, I was talking to the leadership the other night, and they were suggesting that the money that the new money that has come in will largely be going to existing problems, not trying to fix any large new problems.
Okay, one of those, I don't know if it's an existing problem or a large new problem, is schools.
Right.
Obviously, the governor has already said he wants to spend a lot more money on teachers. Does the school funding process also become a part of this this big moving piece? I know you've talked about it. And
it should be. There's so much reform that needs to be done in the school system. But we need to take care on how we spend this money. While $3,000 doesn't sound like a lot of money, when you spread it across 77,000 teachers, that's $230 million. And that in and of itself doesn't sound like a big number, but when you multiply that over a number of years, it becomes a large number pretty quickly. So even over a 50-year period, this $3,000 becomes a $10.5 billion decision that we have to deal with. And I'm not so sure that we have done the necessary research to determine whether or not this is the best allocation of our resources. Would we be better off putting teacher aides in each one of the classrooms with that same amount of money? Because teachers have come back to us and said, hey, we need more bodies helping to make this happen. So there's a lot of intractable problems in South Carolina.
Would that be your if you were the governor, if you were the head of the legislature and could allocate money, teacher raises might not be where you would like to maybe put it somewhere else? Where do you want to put it?
Well, it's not that I don't want to pay teachers more. No. It's a function of allocating scarce resources. Sure. There are so many different things that we could address that that might not be the first one.
Okay. All right. What do you want to address in this? What do you want to see happen in this coming legislative session?
I'd like to see us deal with the Santee Cooper fiasco, and I'd also like us to.
Can we get to an end to that in in this next session?
Well, this is something the General Assembly asked the Department of Administration to get us a path for 3 different approaches. One is allowing Santee to reform itself. Another is hiring an outside entity to come in and manage it. And then the third approach is to actually sell the asset outright. So we need to figure out what we're going to do with that. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that there's going to be a lot of discussion about that.
Will that tie up the legislature? You think that's going to
Yes,
be a real-time killer?
I do. I really do.
Session?
I think it will. That as well as the pension reform.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So everybody's up for election. It's going to be an election year.
It is.
With being an even numbered year. What's the carrot for voters out of the legislature? You sent us all $50 last year. That was nice. What's the carrot to get all of you reelected?
Oh, I think we all
none of that was very sexy, what we just talked about.
I recognize that. But I think what we have to do is we just have to go out and work for the votes, as opposed to, it's not our business to give away taxpayers' dollars to earn somebody's vote. I think we need to go out and earn the votes versus giving away the store.
Okay. Any other issues we can you would like to see happen if there's time with all
Well, we've got a blue ribbon committee working on tax reform, which I'd love to see that, and we also have school financing folks looking at school financing alternatives. So I'd love to see both of those dealt with.
How far are we away from maybe getting really serious about school financing reform? Or is that something that could happen in the fairly short term, or are we years and years away from getting everybody behind an idea to reform things?
You know, it's kind of amazing when you look at what goes on in a General Assembly like ours. You can look at a series of ideas and say, well, that seems relatively simple, but it takes a number of years to implement. I mean, my experience with the pension reform, I've been up there 5 years pounding on the table, and we still haven't gotten 100% of what we want done. So school reform is no different because it affects so many people across the state, both teachers and administrators and families and all of that. So
good luck to you battling the big monster in Columbia.
I appreciate it.
and let's do this more often, all right?
Okay,
let's get together and tell folks what's going on. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Merry
State
Christmas.
Representative Jeff Bradley, and Merry Christmas to you, and say hi to all the gang coming up in Texas. When we come back, a New Year's resolution, maybe for all of us.